In this video, we will be dividing fractions by whole numbers using a number line. Remember yesterday we used models to divide fractions by whole numbers. So if I had, let's say, one entire cake, I already ate half of it. So I'm going to be looking at this 1/2. Got 1/2 divided by 3. I would simply divide it into thirds. And we're looking for this single piece. That's what we did yesterday. So today's going to be pretty similar, except we've got a number line that has to be divided up, and then we're going to be looking for one single piece in that number line. Let's go ahead and dive into that very first question. We've got 1/3 divided by 3. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and find my 1/3. I know it's right here. And I'm going to go ahead and divide my 1/3 into 3 parts. Remember, when we divide something into 3 parts, we just add 2 lines. So there's 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts. Now, just like with the models, we actually have to divide up the entire number line. So each one of the thirds is divided into 3 parts. We've got 1, 2, 3 parts, 1, 2, 3 parts. So as you can see, each third of the number line is divided into 3 parts. Now we have to figure out how much one part, just this very first part, would be. And in order to figure that out, we have to see what fraction of a whole this first part is. Now stay with me here. Let's count them. We've got 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts, 5 parts, 6 parts, 7 parts, 8 parts, 9 parts. So this 1 in the front would be 1/9. And we could continue. We could say 2/9, 3/9, 4/9, 5/9, all the way to 9/9. But remember, we're just looking for this first part, this first square, just like we were yesterday. So I know that if I take my entire 1/3 and I divide it into 3 parts, one of those parts will be 1/9. Looks good, looks good. Let's go ahead and look at our next one. For the next one, it says 1/4 divided by 5. 1/4 divided by 5. So first things first, I'm going to find my 1/4. It's right here. So I know I want to divide this line into 5 parts. 5 parts. So let's go ahead. And if I'm going to divide it into 5 parts, I'm going to draw 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 1 part, 2 part, 3 part, 4 part, 5 parts. Now, just like we did on the one above us, we're going to go ahead and divide the second 1/4. So this is another 1/4. We're going to divide that into parts. 1 part, 2 part, 3 parts, 4 parts, 5 parts. And the same with our next 1/4, from 2/4 to 3/4, we're going to divide that into 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. And finally, our last 3/4, we're going to go ahead and divide that into 5 parts as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now our job is to count and see how many parts we have total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So I know that if I've got 20 parts, that this part at the front, this one part, is going to be 1/20, because it's one part of the 20 parts once I've divided everything into 5 parts. There's a lot of parts in that sentence. Let's move on and try the next one. We're going to do this one together, and then you'll try one on your own. This, we've got 1/4 divided by 2. So I'm going to take a look at my 1/4. And I'm going to divide it by 2. Remember, if I'm going to divide by 2, I'm just going to draw one line. I'm going to go ahead and draw that one line for all the fourths. Each one of my fourths is now divided into 2 parts. So let's count our parts. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts. So I know my denominator is going to be 8 because there's 8 parts. And remember, when I have 1/4 divided by 2, I'm just looking for 1/2 of it. So here is my 1 part after I divide it by 2. So my answer is going to be 1/8. I'm going to have you try this next one. We've got 1/5 divided by 4. So if you're going to divide by 4, think about how many lines you need to draw to split up that 1/5. Go ahead and solve the problem on the number line. For this one, I've got this 1/5. If I'm going to divide by 4, I know I'm going to need 3 lines. I've got 1, 2, 3 lines. So I actually need to do that all the way down my number line. 3 lines in between each fifth. Looks good. Let's count our parts. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I've got 20 parts. And again, we were just looking for this very first part. And we know that very first part will be 1/20. Make sure your work mostly matches mine. I hope you got the right answer. Make sure if you did not, you're reversing the video, you're backing it up, rewinding it to see where you went wrong, and asking for help if you need it. Last problem for this one, it says Meg has a piece of rope that is 1/3 of a foot long. She wants to cut it into 3 pieces. How long will each piece be? So this is what your word problems are kind of going to sound like. As you can see, we've got 0/3 all the way to 3/3 here. And we know that 3/3 equals 1. So we've got a rope that is 1/3 of a foot long, and she wants to cut that into 3 pieces. How long will each piece be? I want you to go ahead and write your equation. So what are you? 1/3 divided by what would equal what? Go ahead and write that equation and solve it. For this one, you should have said 1/3 divided by 3 pieces. Let's go ahead and split up that rope. And we're going to split up the rest of our number lines so we can feel how many parts we've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parts. So I know that this chunk of rope right here, after I divide my 1/3 into thirds, is going to equal 1/9. 1/9. Looks good, looks good. I hope you understand and got the right answer for all of these. Make sure you're asking for help if you need it, and go ahead and get started on that classwork.